students, this side Meena. So today we will move with the next topic, that is the humanistic approach. This approach is mainly given by Karl Rogers and Abraham Maslow. They contributed to the development of a humanistic perspective on a personality, as its name suggests that it is mainly based or related with the human's life and their perspectives. Roger has given the concept of fully functioning person. He believes that fulfillment is the motivating force for person's personality development. Individuals are having an inborn tendency so that they can direct themselves to actualize their inherited nature, and they can achieve that goal that they want to achieve in their life. Roger makes two basic assumptions about human behavior. One is that human behavior is goal directed and it is worthwhile. Second is that we almost choose adaptive self-actualizing behavior, which is very easy to follow and by which we can achieve our goals that we have already settled. The theory assumes that people are constantly engaged in the process of actualizing their true self. They want to find their own self. For this, Roger suggests that each person has a concept of ideal self. This concept tells us that one person should follow one's ideal self to achieve his real self. So in this, the person want to be like their idol, and if there is a correspondence or similarity between the real self of the person and the ideal self, then a person be generally happy. Otherwise, it will result in unhappiness and the dissatisfaction. He said personality development is a continuous process in which we try to learn about, evaluate oneself, and we try to achieve our self-actualization. He also given the concept in the humanistic perspective about the role of social influences. When social conditions are positive, then the self-concept and self-esteem are high. It's opposite when the conditions are negative and the self-concept and self-esteem will be low. In these people who are having high self-concept and self-esteem, they are generally flexible and they are open to new experiences. In this way, they are easy to continue their growth also, and they reach at the level of self-actualization. Under this, the Roger said that if we want to enhance the person's self-concept, then there should be an atmosphere of unconditional positive regard in which we should accept the person in the way the person want to behave. For this, Roger also introduced client-centered therapy. This therapy is mainly centered the client's perspective, his opinions and his views. Another concept is given by Maslow as the highest level of Maslow theory in the hierarchy is self-actualization. This is that level in which people have reached their own fullest potential. We know that biological security and belongingness needs are commonly found among animals and human beings also. The real journey of human life begins with the result of self-esteem and self-actualization needs. So this approach is mainly focused on the human behavior. Our next topic is assessment of personality. When we meet new people, we often try to understand them and even predict what they may do before we interact with them. A formal effort aimed at understanding personality of an individual is termed as a personality assessment. Here, assessment refers to the procedures that are used to evaluate or differentiate people on the basis of some certain type of characteristics. In assessment, we try to study what a person generally does or how he or she behaves in a given situation. Psychologists have tried to assess personality in various ways. For this, they have used so many techniques like self-report measure, projective techniques and behavior analysis. In this, firstly, we will discuss about self-report measure. It was Alport who suggested that the best method to assess a person is by asking him or her about herself or himself. This process led to the use of self-report measure. This is fairly structured and required subject to give verbal responses by using some kind of rating scales. The method requires the subject to objectively report his or own feelings, and he has to respond towards the various items. We can Interpret the responses in the quantitative terms, and interpretation on the basis of the norms developed for the test. Like this, there is another test that is known as MMPI. This test is developed by McKinley. This is the tool that is used by the psychiatric diagnosis, but the test has been found very effective in identifying varieties of psychopathology. It was also revised, and the revised version is available as MMPI-2. This test consists of 567 statements, and the subject has to answer each statement in true or false. The test is divided into 10 subscales, and the test is able to diagnose hypochondriasis, depression, hysteria, psychopathic deviant, and so on. In India, Malik and Joshi had developed the Jodhpur multiphasic personality inventory along the lines of MMPI. In the same manner, there is a third test that is known as the Ising Personality Questionnaire, EPQ. This test is initially assessed mainly two dimensions of personality, that is known as introverted and extroverted, and emotionally stable, emotionally unstable. The dimensions are having 32 personality traits. After that, Ising added a third dimension that is known as a psychotism. It is linked with the psychopathology and represent a lack of feeling for others, tough manner of interacting with people. A person who score high on this dimension, the person is considered as egocentric and antisocial. This test is widely used. Next one is 16th personality factor questionnaire, also known as 16PF. This test was developed by the Kettle. This test provides with declarative statements. In this, the subject has to respond by choosing one statement from a set of given alternatives. The test can be used with high school level students as well as with the adults. Has been found extremely useful in career guidance, vocational exploration, and occupational testing. We already discussed the self-report measure. This test suffers from a number of problems. First one is the social desirability. In this, the respondent respond to the items in a socially desirable manner. Mean to say, he just respond in that manner in which he feels that society will accept his response. So there is a subjectivity, and the respondent did not give that response that actually he feel. Next one is the acquiescence. This is the another problem in this test. It is a tendency of the subject to agree with the items or the questions irrespective of their content. As in this test, the respondent has to give the answer into the yes or no items. So this test is having the less reliability. We should remember one thing, that psychological testing and understanding personality require great skills and training. Our next one is under this projective techniques. These techniques are also used for personality assessment. These techniques are known as direct techniques because in this we are directly getting the information from the respondent. In this, the person also know that his personality is being assessed. People generally become self-conscious and they feel hesitation to share their private feelings, thoughts and motivations. So they do it in a socially desirable manner. Mean to say, they often give that type of responses that they think that it will be accepted by the society. As we have already discussed about the psychoanalytical theory, that it tells us that a large part of human behavior is governed by the unconscious motives, and direct methods of personality assessment cannot uncover the unconscious part of our behavior, and the respondent is also not able to give the proper information about himself. These problems can be overcome by using indirect method of assessment. This method is known as projective techniques. Projective techniques were developed to assess our unconscious motives and feelings. These techniques are less structured, and unstructured stimuli or situation will allow the individual to project his or her feelings, desires and need onto that situation. They use various kinds of stimulus material and situations for assessing personality, which include words, ink blots, storytelling around pictures, sentence completion, and so on. These techniques share some of common features like the stimuli are relatively or fully unstructured and poorly defined. The person being assessed is usually not told about the purpose of assessment and the method how we are going to score and interpreting the result. The person is informed that there are no correct and incorrect response, so he is free to give the response in the way he wants. Each response is considered to reveal a significant aspect of the personality. So each response that is given by the respondent is a matter of concern. Scoring and interpretations are lengthy and sometimes subjective in nature. So they cannot be scored in any objective manner. For this we use qualitative analysis, for which a rigorous training is needed. Now we will try to discuss some of the projective techniques. In this, our first one is Rorschach's ink block test. This test was developed by Hermann Rorschach. The test consists of 10 ink blots. 5 of them are black and white, 2 are of red ink, and the remaining 3 in some pastel colors. The blocks are symmetrical in design with a specific shape or form. Each block is printed in the white centered cardboard. The blot was originally made by dropping ink on a piece of the paper. After that, we fold the paper in a half. The cards are administered individually in 2 phases. First phase is performance proper. In this phase, subjects are shown the cards and are asked to tell what they can see in each of the cards. Second phase is known as an inquiry. In this, the subject has to give the response and a detailed report is prepared by asking the subject to tell where, how and on what basis they have made particular response. The use and interpretation of this test require extensive training. Now, computer techniques too have been developed for analysis of data. Our next one is the thematic appreciation test. It is also known as a TAT. This test was developed by Morgan and Murray. It is little more structured comparison to the ink block test. In this test, 30 black and white picture cards and 1 blank card. Each picture card tells us one or more people in a variety of situation, and each picture is printed on a card. Some cards are used for adult males and females, other are used for boys and girls. Still other are used in some combinations. 20 cards are appropriate for a subject. Even we can use less number of cards. The cards are presented one time. In this, the subject is asked to tell a story that describing the situation presented in the picture. He or she has to tell that what is happening in the cards related to the situations and what will happen in the future according to this situation and what the characters are feeling and thinking. A standard procedure is available for this, and the scoring is also done on a scientific basis. The test is also modified for children and for the aged. TAT Indian interpretation is given by Uma Chaudhary. Our next one in this category is having Rosen's picture frustration study. It is also known as a PF study. This test was developed by the Rosenwing and to assess how people express aggression in the face of a frustrating situation. When there is a blocking of their needs, then how they behave and how they express their aggression. This is made for that. The test present with the help of cartoon. Like in the Rorschach's ink block test, we use ink blots. In the thematic appreciation, we use the pictures on the cards and the subject has to narrate the story. In the same manner, here we use the cartoons. In these pictures are series of situations in which one person frustrates another person and the person try to draw the attention of the person to the frustrating conditions. The subject is asked to tell what the other person will say or do in the frustrating situation. On the basis of this, the responses is based on the type and direction of aggression. In this, we also try to examine whether the focus is on the frustrating object or on protection of the frustrated person or on constructive solution of the problem. Parikh has adapted the test for the use of the Indian population. After this, we are having another projective technique that is known as a sentence completion test. This test make use of number of incomplete sentences. The starting part of the sentence is presented and the subject has to provide an ending to the sentence. Like example of sentence completion is given, like my father worked. The subject has to complete the sentence by adding their own response. This type of test reflect their attitudes, motivation and conflicts also. Our next one is draw a person test. This is very simple test. In this we ask the subject to draw a person on a sheet of paper. In this, a pencil and the eraser is provided for the drawing. After the completion of the drawing, the subject is asked to draw the figure of an opposite sex person. If the test is given to the girl, then the girl has to draw the picture of a boy. The subject is asked to make a story about the person, like some interpretation in the form of examples. We then try to draw from the picture that drawn by a subject, like omission of facial expressions. If there is a lack of facial expressions, it is understood that a person tries to avoid a highly conflict-ridden interpersonal relationship and the person don't want to face that situation and he is want to escape from that. And the second one, if there is a graphic emphasis on the neck, then it suggests the person is having a lack of control over the impulses. Our third one is if there is a disproportionately large head on by the person, then it tells us that there is an organic brain disease and headaches. The analysis of the personality with the help of these projective techniques, they are fairly interesting as it helps us to understand unconscious motives, their conflicts, their emotional complexes of the individual. On the other hand, the interpretation of the responses also required specialized training are problems that are related with the reliability of the scoring and the validity of the interpretations. After that, in this category, we are having another analysis like behavior analysis. We know that we behave differently in different situations. That's why a person's behavior in a variety of situations can provide us with meaningful information about his or her personality. When we try to do behavior analysis, then it can be done by the observation and the observer prepare report in which the data is obtained by using so many methods like interview, observation, ratings, nomination and situational test. In this, firstly, we will talk about the interview. As we already know that it is a very common and a very easy method to assessing the personality of the person. In this, two persons are sitting face to face. The persons are always involved by questioning or asking some specific questions. Interviews may be structured or unstructured. It depends on that what are the goals we have prepared for assessing the personality of the person. In the unstructured interview, the interviewer seeks to develop an impression about a person by asking a number of questions. In this, the interviewer and the interview has enough potential to reveal their own personalities. Under the structured interviews, there are very specific questions and there is a set of procedure that the interviewer and the interview has to follow. This is often done to make objective comparison of persons being interviewed. After that, we have observation. Behavior observation is the very common method that we use for assessing the personality. It requires intensive training on the part of the observer and the guidelines also given for analysis the behavior in order to assess the personality of a person. In spite of the frequent and widespread use of observation and interview method, these methods have some limitations. Like first one is that for this professional training required for collecting the data and they are also very time consuming. Second limitation is that there is a need of majority on the part of the psychologist so that he could obtain valid data through these techniques. The next limitation is that if the person knows that his behavior is being observed by someone, then we are not able to get actual and good data. Our next one is behavior ratings. Behavior ratings are also used frequently for assessment of personality in educational and industrial settings. Behavior ratings always attempt to put individual into certain categories in terms of their behavioral qualities. These categories may involve different numbers and descriptive terms. These categories are essential in behavior ratings so that there should be no confusion on the part of the rater. And we are able to define the traits of the person on the rating scale in an effective manner. Method of rating scale also suffer from some major limitations. First one is biasness on the part of the rater. For example, most of us are greatly influenced by a single favorable and unfavorable trait of the person. This often form the basis of the rater's overall judgment of a person. For example, if I have seen that one person is very hardworking, then I already assume that if the person is hardworking, the person may be also punctual, the person may be also good in communication skill. So this is known as a halo effect. Second one is that the raters have a tendency to place the individuals mostly in the middle of the scale, and this is also known as a middle category bias. In this, the person try to avoid the positions extreme and the lower, and they want to place themselves in the middle category only. This also require proper training. Our next one is the nomination. This method is used in obtaining peer assessment. It can be used with a person who have been in long-term interaction and who know each other very well. In using nomination, each person is asked to choose one or more persons of the group with whom they would like to do work, study, play and other activity. Nominations then try to analysis and to understand the personalities and behavior qualities of the person. Next one is the situational test. A variety of situational tests have been devised for the assessment of personality. In this, the most commonly used test is the situational stress test. This test provides us the information that how a person behaves under stressful situations. In this test, a person has to perform a given task with the other person who are instructed to be non-cooperative. The person is instructed to play a role for which he is observed. A verbal report is also obtained that what was asked to do. The situation may be realistic one or it may be created through a video play. So that's all for this chapter. I hope that you have understood this chapter very well. So try to read this chapter thoroughly. Thank you.